Hello and welcome to Bensonwood and Unity Homes. My name's Jay Lepple and we're here at our production facility. Today, I'm going to be showing you the wall line. In our wall line, these are all our pre-cut materials that have come from our CNC machine, and we have our plate stock here. Now this is our OB Plus wall, so it's made up of glue lamp material and I-joist, and over here, Lee's pre-building window and door ROs, and this is for when it gets to the framing machine. So it calls for an RO, and it'll be nailing it down there, and we'll demonstrate that. But first, this has all of the cripples, the jack studs, and the headers that go into it. So you can see all this is pre-cut, pre-laid out from the CNC machine, and then Travis has the computer program that the file was already downloaded on, and he's got the framing machine now, and he's ready to start nailing. So you can see the wall positions itself to the next 2 feet on center, and then it nails once again. Now, as we're moving on to our next component of the walls here, I just want to say that all these guys are some sort of job captain or job captain assistant, which is much like a foreman on site. And so the continuous feedback loop of them seeing how they frame these walls or sheathe these walls and seeing how they're erected on site is a very important part of our process. So they really care about what they're doing at each and every station. Over here is our first multi-bridge nailer. So at the multi-function bridge, this has 2 tandem nailers that give us all of our shear strength. It also has a router and a dust collection system. So when this framed wall comes through here, it gets extruded on conveyors to the next position, and here is our vapor control layer. And our vapor control layer consists of 7/16 OSB, and we tape every seam. But before taping, you can see Zach, he's pulling over the last sheet of OSB here. We use all of these ergonomic lifting vacuum lifts, and we just tack this, and you can kind of see all the edges are just at random length. And what Zach's going to do is come over to the computer screen here and make sure this is all set and run the nailing. So the bridge then comes over, positions itself with its nail gun, and starts to nail. So what happens with these nails is that this is our engineered layer, and so that can be 6 inches on center, that could be 3 inches on center. And what that allows us to be is very accurate and no human error. Every single stud we know will get nailed, every piece of blocking will get nailed on a shear wall. Now after that's done, you can see over here that we have taped every seam because this is our vapor control layer, and our vapor control layer is our airtight layer, and that has to do with our standard detailing here in the shop and on site. On top of that, we have an OB layer, an open built layer. And this allows us to run Romex and any small water lines within this layer. It also has this header up above here where a second floor system would actually sit on top of this. Again, not to penetrate our vapor control layer. This allows for the insulation to carry up by the second floor system and not having to insulate the floor system. And we've got a nice, cool other component here, the butterfly table. And what the butterfly table does is it keeps it so we don't have to provide a lot of infrastructure here in the middle of the shop where we might need a crane usually. We've got a butterfly table. And so the two tables come up and you can just see what it'll do. Thank you, guys. As you can see, that's a safe and easy way to flip a panel in the middle of your building. That then gets transferred over to our cellulose station. Now, this insulation station is a little different where we can fit a full pallet of cellulose inside this machine. And it's got an elevator unit in there that pushes it up while it scrapes material off the top. It then agitates the material and runs through a series of pipes to the platen. Now the platen has a series of lasers on it that allows Boz to control the different areas where he would like to fill. This also allows us to have preset control settings for each type of bay we'd like. So if there's a 2-foot on center bay, we have a setting for that to get the right density. And if we have a smaller bay, again, to get the right density. This fills in about 60 seconds a bay. And as you can see, Boz lowered it down there. And he starts pumping cellulose through. And there's a series of hoses in there that fill in the correct order, again, for the density control. Obviously, you can then see and feel that it's dense enough, so we have a good visual also. Now over here on the OB plus wall, we're using 5/8 zip sheathing. The reason we're using 5/8 is because of our 2-foot on center. This is also our weather resistant barrier. And we're now on to our second multi-function bridge. Now this will nail and route and use the dust collection just as the other bridge did. If this was a unity wall, which I'll introduce a little later, this would be our fiberboard station, where it would nail and route as typical, but it would also run inkjet lines for our strapping. At our next station down, after those inkjet lines, we lay the strapping there, and it then has a stick framer on it that will then nail those through the strapping, through the fiberboard, into the studs. So this has a lot more components to it, and we're going to demonstrate a little of the routing here. This has already been nailed, and Keegan's going to show us a little bit about the routing. So as you can see, it just routed out the window RO, and then now it's routing around the perimeter. Over at this station is where we would have the exterior strapping put on. So once those control lines were put in by the inkjet in the multifunction bridge, it would then come through and it would use the stick gun to nail in a series on top of those strappings. Now over here, we have our gantry or our filing system where we can do some work with the panels vertically. So we've been horizontal through the whole system on conveyors. We now are going to stand this up and go vertically. And the way we do that is with these bars screwed into the end of the panel. And then I'm going to demonstrate running this machine and how easy it is to put in. Oh, looks like I lost some plans off that one. Pick those up on the way through. So as you can see, it raises it up vertically, and then it goes into our filing system. It gets down on these roller skates, and then we can just push it through into the gantry. And this is where windows would now be prepped and door ROs. So you can see it's all zip taped, all air sealed. And I'm going to show you a little bit about that over here. So Justin's here, putting in one of our door bucks. This is something we created a while ago so that we could install all doors here. So if this was a slab on grade or if this was pre-built in our floor system, it would be carved out for this insulated door buck. And what that allows us to do is to get all the flashing right here, all the silicone and everything else you need for this, in a nice controlled environment where it's accurate, it's comfortable. Last night we just had 8 inches of snow, so we wouldn't be doing this probably on site today, but we can here. And we can get that up to all of our specs. Now Justin's been trained and he's got standard operating procedures of how to use this door, or I'm sorry, install this door and how it works. And you can see also, another thing that works real well here in the shop is this robot that has large suction cups that can bring this huge slider over with one person and install this. So Ray was able to get this on, put all the clips in, do anything else he needed to this door, and then attach it with this, keep it vertical, and be able to place it with one person and jockey it around. So this has a raising on it. It's got a boom to telescope out. So this is a huge benefit in the shop and makes us a lot more accurate, and of course doesn't hurt our backs as much. Over here you can see that we've placed some of our pans ready for a window install, flashing for any lap siding that we might be using afterwards. And you can see actually some of our windows prepped already here. So a typical nailing flange window, we pre-install the shims actually here on the table before setting them, along with the clips, so that that can go in and get shimmed from the rough opening itself to these shims and then get a full layer of foam all the way around that. So that's a little bit about our OB plus wall, and you can see over here, here's a nailing flange window already secured and mounted, and you can see here that we have a man door already in its door buck, fully taped and able to operate. So a huge benefit to have that here in the shop. The other huge benefit of that on site is that we can blower door test the house immediately after our crew leaves. And that raising takes place from anywhere to 5 days to 10 days, depending on the size of the house. So we can blower door test that, and we get to our blower door test numbers immediately when we're done with the house. You can also see that there's some penetrations there that we just zipped over for the time being, but again, so nobody else penetrates our wall system, that it's just us, and we prefigure all that out in CAD model. Over here, I want to introduce you to our Unity 8 wall. Now, our Unity 8 wall has a 1 inch and 9/16 fiberboard sheathing on the outside. It's tongue and groove, all 4 sides. So 2 sides are tongue, the other 2 sides are groove. And that allows us to split anywhere. Here's our studs, and there's a seam right in the middle of a bay. So it's really nice to be able to continuously use up the sheath and mitigate waste. Along with, this is actually our weather resistant barrier here. It also gives us a continuous R9 around the whole building. And just to mention, you can see here our quality control checklist. So each framing, inside sheathing, interior strapping, everything that you see here has been checked off, either a comply or a non-comply or a non-applicable. And that's the quality insurance program that we have here at Bensonwood and Unity Homes. So in this Unity wall, we're installing all mid-mount windows. And you can kind of see the steps. We've flashed the RO, got ready. This frame, the sashes were taken out. And it was pre-taped as it was laying down, kind of like you saw the clips and the shims over there. So none of this has been taped yet, but it's been pre-taped on the window. So it just has to be peeled and taped once it's secured in its correct location. And then finally, it's secured and taped and the sashes are put in. Just a few other elements to show here. You can see all the tape is pre-installed on the bottom, ready for the panel next to it. Also, all the corners have all pre-drilled holes for all the fasteners so that the 2 walls can be put together. And we keep all of those fasteners either on the warm side of the wall or the cold side of the wall to mitigate that either cold conductivity or warm. And you can kind of get a section of what this Unity wall looks like. So you have a 2x8, the fiberboard, again, the 7/16 interior vapor control layer. And then we have our 2x3s on end, which is a pretty important part of this process because as I showed you on the OB Plus wall, we land our floor systems on that. But being that it's a little deeper on our Unity wall, we're able to put the second floor system up on top there without using hangers in the floor system. So again, it's like a balloon frame package in the insulated layer, but a platform package on the inside layer. And I just wanted to show you here, we also have some fiber board bats that we've boosted the R value of this wall by insulating that 2.5-inch layer after electrical would be done. And you can also see some of our parallel processing here. Well, you know, all these walls are being produced. Our roof line is producing roof. Our open cavity line is producing interior walls and floor systems, while the extension jambs are being produced in woodworking. So it's amazing how we can do all these things and they all come together here at the end. And after it gets out of this gantry, I just want to show you down here how our bundling process works. And when we come down here, we stack the number of panels that we started with when we decided what panels were going to go first, how we needed to raise them on site, and I'll show you that in a minute. But here on the Unity wall, you can see again this engineered layer. Not only is it the vapor control layer, but it's also our sheathing layer, which gives us all of our engineer values. But again, all of our hold downs are able to be put in this layer. And why that's important is, again, we're not penetrating the envelope. And any penetrations that we are doing, we're doing ourselves with conduit that can be foamed later and taped later. You can also see, again, another pre-built door unit here with a door buck. And just to finish this tour off, again, to wrap it all up and bring it back to the beginning, this is how we pull apart a building and decide how we're going to raise it and put it into bundles and what needs to go on a truck first. And this is how we do that. And this is all that these job captains need on site for these wall systems and how they go together, because they see the standard details all the time. So they know how a corner works. They know how each joint works from level to level connection. They know how a floor to a wall works. So this is, with all those standard details, we're able to deal with that. Again, my name's Jay Lepple, and thank you for touring Bensonwood and Unity Homes.